We have here with us today Rea Dickey, President and CEO of Dickey's BBQ. Laura, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to see you. Thank you again. We're going to talk tech, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about Dickey's and some of the great features that you've added in recent months.
Sure. So Dickey's is almost 80 years young, if you will. We started in 1941 with absolutely no technology, so we have come a long way. But we have over 500 locations across the U.S. We've just started our initial international expansion, and certainly that's a little slower this year than was anticipated. But we're really doing well in the U.S. We are third generation family owned, actually still, and we concentrate on legit Texas barbecue. That's what we know. That is one of the things that really hasn't evolved much, is that we are still all about brisket, and all of our locations have pit smoked barbecue on site. And so there's a real hickory wood pit, and you come in, or usually you would come in to a location, and you would interact with our pit master, and you would have a fresh meat selection that you'd see coming out of the pit, and they would hand chop it or slice it or cut it to order, and then you would choose your sides. You'd pay with the cashier, and you would sit down, and in a typical situation, you'd spend about 20 minutes at one of our tables in the dining room. And then pre-pandemic, if you will, we were doing about 26% of our business online and off-premise. And so that meant if you weren't in one of our dining rooms, you were probably engaging with Dickies.com and doing a direct delivery order, some third-party ordering or catering. And that was all of our third-party and off-premise delivery business. And again, about 26% pre-pandemic. So that's us. So what really has grown that revenue channel and helped us be successful is that customer service experience. So it's both in person in the dining room in a traditional way, but it's also online. And so where we really enhanced features, there were some updates that were slated for the website already. We had our development roadmap, and they were scheduled to launch in April. We fast-tracked those as much as possible in that last little sprint of time. But it really was, first and foremost, being guest-centric. So we took and optimized the design of the website. That's always, always, always something that we focus on, which is user experience. So how can we continually optimize page loading time, design, ease of use? And I think what's a very important piece in that customer service is to be very mindful, as the guest expectations are evolving, to have the technology and the design continue to evolve with it. And so tolerance for what are shortcuts, what very simple tactical things, all the way down to much more sophisticated strategic things. So we've added a chatbot onto the website so that folks can more easily and more naturally engage with the FAQ process and some other pieces of ordering. But we really took that customer service experience from a design, UI, and then we also integrated it into the back-end dashboard, which actually enabled our owner-operators across the system to load menus faster, to make updates faster, and that really affects the customer service piece, where you can communicate to a guest very seamlessly what you're sold out of. How you feature different items to as much mimic the in-store experience as you possibly can. So through design and through then communicating very quickly, very naturally, very organically with the guest. And then some additional updates outside of the service piece that really impacted the guest was, again, our back end, the dashboard. And then we made enhancements to our nutritional information. We also made it easier for our operators to update pricing, to update menu items, to update, again, inventory, what's in stock, what's not, to feature different items. And then also to have more control over their local promotions. That was definitely a need that we were seeing. So while we had always pushed out national promotions, we added the ability in the dashboard for our operators to also be able to overlay different specials. And that was particularly important in kind of the environment in which we were working, where so much of the experience shifted online so quickly. Right. We needed to be able to use the technology to really empower the operator to still have some control and some engagement in the guest experience. And outside of cart abandonment, it was what information were they pulling up that we hadn't seen them pull up before? What were they looking at? So for the first time in the online channel, we had such an influx of new users to the online channel. Maybe they had been a guest with us before, but they were a new guest online or a new guest in-app. And we saw that they were much more so than previously pulling up nutritional information. So we made a lot of improvement to the nutrition calculator since guests were interacting with that. That also improved that conversion rate to get guests to complete an order. So it was to make the design and the UI UX, and then to really pay attention to why they were abandoning or where they were spending time on the site. And then continually always load time. We made investments in.
Yeah, awesome. You know, having franchises, maybe not all your franchises, I'm guessing, are not on the same POS. So when it comes to third-party delivery, how important is third-party order integration into your platform?
That disparity that you just mentioned, different types of POSs, was a huge challenge for us. So we have been rolling out our own proprietary POS system, and we are now a fourth of the way through the system, just around a fourth, that are on our POS system. But we still have, you know, again, so much of the system that is doing business with third party, and to pull all that data seamlessly into Smokestack, into our data platform. And so as we were looking at the challenge of the tablets, we were also looking at the challenge of the data. How do you track a sale? How do you manage inventory? How do you make sure that your data, when you're looking back historically, accurately reflects all of those sales? And for us, as we're pulling data in every 15 minutes through Smokestack, it was, you know, a huge gap, and that became you know, very spotlighted when we were looking at the delay in third-party reporting. It was their willingness to look at our data system and work with our folks to meet our integration needs, so that we could pull in real-time data. So that as we're looking at what we call our intraday reports that are coming in every 15 minutes, we don't have that sales gap of third-party delivery, so that we can forecast, and we have worked through that endeavor. But it was very important as we have the adjustment with folks that are on our Spark POS versus folks that are on other types of POS systems. But they can now all interact through one primary dashboard that sits atop the system. And so our dashboard, whether it feeds into online ordering or into our database or into the POS for us in Spark, they have the same experience. So it's one set of menus, one set of ingredients, all of the data is entered one time. And that was really, really, really important. And so that aggregator experience really, again, kind of that principle of how can you simplify and how can you create as much of the same experience. And so for us, that was a very, very big win across the system too.
Yeah. Absolutely. All that data feeds into other parts of the system. You need to have current app inventory, so it all trickles down, right?
It does. And what was really an interesting kind of insight to watch is operators that had thought, well, okay, I understand getting rid of the tablets, right? They can understand the tactile, you know, in-person advantage that was. But it wasn't until they began to depend on the data in a different way, because they didn't have the in-store interaction. And so much of their business so immediately, as well as their ability to communicate with their guests, went through the technology. That they really, I think, had that aha moment as we got feedback, as we were looking at it, you know, from that home office, from that franchisor perspective. So we expected that, but there was a different value set from the operator than there had been before, because they realized they were depending on that back and forth data in a way that they maybe hadn't been aware before. And so that was actually a net good thing. And certainly the dashboard was a very good thing. And so we made those enhancements. So front end, back end, and then improvements also in the data aggregation. And that's certainly the third party piece.
I know you recently have added curbside and contactless delivery. Are those services that you're looking at continuing?
We will continue with curbside. We will continue with contactless delivery as an option. And there was an immediate use from the guest side of contactless delivery. And I actually don't think that that is just pandemic. I think some folks that want that purely online experience really are looking for a contactless interaction, and so they prefer that. And so we'll keep that as well as then our traditional third party and our traditional direct delivery. And then also improvements to our app. We saw a lot of activity, a lot more download in our app. We also invested and evolved in our proprietary loyalty program. We have done different specials with loyalty folks and really building and putting a great emphasis on that loyalty and that engagement so that we can have interaction with those heavy users and see what they're ordering, how that's changed. But I think it's also that our tech is able to meet guest needs. I think they have a high confidence that their transaction is going to be quick, it's going to be completed, we're going to communicate well, and then we have a high guest satisfaction survey rating after an interaction, whether it's a third party delivery or a direct delivery or curbside or a come in and pick up.
You're delivering on all fronts. You're offering great food, great service, and a great, easy to use digital platform. So what's next for Dickey's? I mean, you've had so many tech initiatives this year that you guys have successfully executed. Where are you headed?
Sure. Absolutely continuing to invest always in those channels. You know, I have the humorous conversation with our CFO once a year at least about, I thought we just did that. Didn't we just pay for that? And it's like, yes, we did, Jay. And now it's time to do it again. I mean, that is the story of technology, is a continual reinvestment. So while we'll continue to concentrate in those areas that have absolutely made sure that we provide the UI, UX, and the speed, and then the ease of use, both on guest front end and then operator back end, we're looking at a large and are in the midst of rolling out our training updates. So a huge investment in our internal platform and training, which is very important for us, but Barbecue University Online. But we're also making a large investment again in the app. We'll continue to improve that. That's a huge point of focus. And then also our at-home and our retail, supplementing our traditional experience. We just launched Dickey's at Home. And so that is actually our retail products. And so you can go on and you can order at home and then prepare your meal as you see fit, when you see fit, and adding subscription services to that and additional enhancements. So really just making sure that we are as available to our guests as we possibly can be.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today here at Restaurant Next. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.